if you haven't been paying attention, China has been expanding out into the South China Sea by taking unoccupied and in some cases islands, islands that aren't even islands. They were just like reefs or shallow areas, and piling enough dirt on top of them that they become islands. And now they're starting to build military-style runways on these sites. And they are claiming this is now Chinese territory, and you may not sail within 12 miles of it because these are our territorial waters. And they're encroaching on territory that is claimed by other countries, from South Vietnam to Taiwan to Japan to whatnot. And Taiwan, of course, is the big concern. Taiwan is the Chinese consider to be part of China. Taiwan is where when Chiang Kai-shek led his revolt against the Chinese and failed, he fled to Taiwan, took a lot of treasure with him. I've been through the Taiwanese National Museum. It's built on the side of a mountain, and it's an amazing museum. I mean, it's one of the most amazing museums I've ever been in my life. And it's basically all the treasure that Chiang Kai-shek and his buddies looted from China. And there's so much of it stashed in the back in the mountains, back in the mountain in the back rooms of this museum, that now this was 15, 20 years ago. I don't know if this is still the case, but back then they changed most of the displays every 3 or 4 months because they just had so much stuff. They were constantly cycling it through. So anyhow, the Chinese were not at all happy, but Mao was very upset that Chiang Kai-shek got away and set up shop in Taiwan, and refers to himself as the Republic of China. Now, the United States said, "Okay, we won't call them China. We'll just call China China." But the Taiwanese are like, "No, we're not Taiwan. We're China." And it says it on their coins and stuff. Or at least it used to. It's like I said, it's been a couple of decades since I was in Taiwan. I've been there a couple of times. But the Chinese said, "Okay, this is it. This is our space. You may not invade this." Early this morning, the U.S. sent a warship within 12 miles of one of these. They're called the Spratly Islands. One of these islands. And the Chinese have come out and said that was wrong. In fact, the headline over at the Financial Times is China accuses the United States of illegal incursion. And, there are so many flashpoints now around the world. The article by Dmitry Sevastopolo in Washington and Charles Clover in Beijing. China has accused the U.S. of making an illegal maritime incursion after American warships sailed close to an artificial island in the South China Sea in an effort to challenge Beijing's territorial claims in the disputed waters of the USS Larsen. Sailed within 12 miles of Subi Reef in what the U.S. labeled a freedom of navigation operation. So I don't know enough about this issue to have a really strong take to share with you, other than, holy crap. I mean, this, China so has us by the throat. We cannot build spaceships without Chinese parts. We cannot build cruise missiles without Chinese parts. We can't build the USS Larsen that just went through this island would not function without, in particular, electronics made in China. We have so completely, since Nixon opened us to China, and then Reagan and Clinton pushed through most favored nation status with China, so permanent normal trade relations with China, so that there were no tariffs, so that all of our industrialists in the United States could move their factory operations to China, so that the Walton family could make an extra $100 billion. I mean, since we did this, we have put ourselves the United States, in such a subordinate position. China is now the world's largest economy. In large part because we're their largest customer. And they're using the model that Alexander Hamilton used to build America, which is the ultimate irony and kind of slap in the face. Now, I have, I'm nothing against China. I spent not quite a month, but I spent part of the month of November 1986 living in Beijing and studying at the International Acupuncture Teaching Hospital there in Beijing. It was, I was just doing it for fun. I was interested in acupuncture. I had to be in, as I recall, it was the Philippines. I had to be somewhere in Southeast Asia for work for the Salem organization. And at that point in time, I mean, China, the tallest building in Beijing was the Hilton or the Hyatt or whatever it was. I think it's the Hilton, maybe a Sheraton. There was 10 stories tall with a pizzeria and a steakhouse. And Beijing was like there were no cars on the roads. There was just bicycles everywhere. I mean, this was just like I was there in the year before Tiananmen Square, and China was not it was an undeveloped country. And then we said, okay, we'll turn it all over to you guys. What this means for the United States, what this means for China, what this means for world peace, I don't know, but I want to know as much about it as possible, and I think you should too. This is one of those. Much like Ukraine, the situation in Ukraine and NATO moving up against the Russian border, and now moving into Chinese territory. What the Chinese are asserting is their territory. What's the old Chinese curse theoretically? Anyway, it's may you live in interesting times. I think we are there.